Hey, how's it going, everybody? I hope you're having a great Friday. We got our intro transition to work this time. I finally, after I don't know, 4 or 5 months, I got to the point where I mashed those two videos together, so I didn't have to click two things in Restream Studio. How's it going, Andy?
Hey, John. Doing well. How are you?
Doing good. It's been a really long, really kind of rough week, to be honest. There was a lot of like early starts for me this week and everything, but I'm kind of coasting into the weekend right now. I'm taking off all next week into Labor Day. So I'm really looking forward to that. I kind of already have a little bit of senioritis right now where I'm just not feeling working right now. So we coast into the weekend. How about you, man? Was it pretty good?
Doing well. It's been a busy week, lots and lots of training, and then filling in a whole bunch of
Mhm.
gaps in between, doing some prep for today for this session. So I'm pretty excited about this. I think this is going to be a lot of fun as we wrap up our week and you get ready to head into your weekend. I'm actually going on vacation next weekend. So starting then, knock
Okay,
on wood,
cool.
when you're coming back, I'll be headed out for my vacation. So I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. Yeah. I knock on wood, I think I got lucky. My kids started school this week, and I didn't realize I should have maybe done an extra week buffer for vacation because I was worried they might get sick this week because they're like, going back into school and everybody gets sick right off the bat. I was like,
Mm.
man, I really hope that they don't get me sick so that I spend my whole vacation like just ill at home. So hopefully we missed it, but um yeah, everybody, let us know in the chat where you're watching from, as well as like if you're taking any time off around Labor Day in the US, what you're planning on doing. We got Benita here watching from Johnson City, Tennessee. I'd like to do something cool someday, Andy, where we do we do like a map of like where people are watching from. I've seen Aaron Parecki, he does that, and it's like I think it's a Google Chrome plugin where he watches the chat and people post their city where they're watching from, and then it will like put that on a Google Map pin. So that's kind of like his countdown is like people putting their name on a map. I think that'd be really cool. Hey Chris, it's good to see you. This is Chris Wilkins. He worked with me at Cerner for, gosh, it was probably like 8 or 9 years by now. It looks like you've moved up to Minneapolis, man. Are you there just visiting for your new job, or did you actually relocate to Minneapolis? Curious about that. So, yeah, just let us know. If you have any questions along the way, or you want us to check something out special, if like something pops up, throw it in the chat. I want this to be like really interactive, talking about whatever is on your guys' mind. Um, So, hey, Tomislav, you're here in Hanover. It's got to be what, like 8 or 9 p.m. there right now. So thanks for tuning in and sticking with us, dude. Memphis here. Oh, Chris, you joined General Mills. I saw that on LinkedIn, dude. Congratulations. That sounds like a cool gig.
I love how these
Cool.
live streams become a worldwide event whenever we're doing it. People like literally from all over the world join, this is
Yeah,
really
it's cool
cool.
to see where people join from, like over in Europe to New Zealand. Hopefully, this is like a pretty good time of day for that type of thing.
We're gonna need a world
But
map plug-in or maybe a globe that like has some animation and kind of spins around to
that's what
like,
his is,
yeah,
Aaron's.
that'd be
It's like
really
a
cool.
globe map, and he has like hundreds of people watching, so it's really cool to watch it like all kind of pop in there like that. Oh, it's 8 o'clock. That's not too bad.
And I know while we're presenting this, I'm trying something a little bit different than normal. So
Hmm.
we use Restream.io to do this broadcast. So we're basically going through
Yeah.
Restream, but we can go to multiple channels. So John's got to go into his YouTube,
Hmm.
which is where a number of you are joining in with us from. I've got to go into
Yeah.
one of my YouTube channels, but I think we've got it LinkedIn Learning as well. And then I'm
Hmm.
also broadcasting to Twitter today just to see what it's like. Haven't done that before. Didn't announce I was going to do that, so just kind of
Yeah.
watching it
You're
off
like
to
what,
the
5
side to see the
places?
interaction.
So I'm going to 3 locations,
Yeah.
and then Andy's going to 2 as well. So yeah, we're going out to 5 places today. Yeah, if you get like LinkedIn Live and stuff, you'll have to add that as well, Andy.
Yeah.
Um, add that to the mix. The other thing, I like these behind the scenes things. It's kind of fun to like see how we do this, you know, because one of the big themes of like my channel is us talking about live streaming technology. But I noticed something that's kind of on brand for this topic today of talking about PowerPoint Cameo and having multiple cameras in your presentation. I noticed this, Andy. There's a new extra camera feature in Restream
Ooh.
Studio. So it looks like I can add a second camera. If you guys haven't tried Restream Studio, it's really, really cool. Obviously, this is like not sponsored or anything like that. I pay out of pocket for my Restream account. It's like $12 a month or something. But they added this extra camera, so it looks like I could do. See,
Yeah, look at that.
my my Logitech camera's not working today for some reason, but I could do like my OBS virtual camera, or I could add a second camera to this. Hit add, and then now I've got this second one. Oh, dude, that's cool. Can I add a third extra camera? Now OBS is the only one left to pick from.
Look at that.
Dude, you could add more. So you could set up
Multicam.
cameras pointed. Yeah, you could put like 3 webcams on your camera, on your computer, point them at your guests, and then have them all side by side.
So literally the 3
Ooh,
cameras that you now have on your desk, you can bring them
yeah.
all into the feed.
I could accept one of them right now. If I'm gonna kick these ones out because I don't need I don't need a bunch of black screens. This one here though, that's me. It's the ATEM right now, so I can flip over and show my whiteboard. So
Yeah.
2 of my cameras are coming in as one USB source. But if you had multiple capture cards, yeah, you could do that. Yeah, that's pretty interesting, dude. That's cool. Well, a little bit of behind the scenes, fun stuff. This is what Restream Studio looks like. We can just move each other around like that and rearrange. I can put Andy real big. It's just drag and drop. So if you're new to like video production stuff, this is a super user friendly option for you to check out. I really like it. It's a fun way to produce our show with a guest. So without further ado, further procrastination, talking about our own setups, we have the topic today talking about a deep dive into PowerPoint Cameo specifically. So, Andy, I think you wanted to drive the slides because you've got a pretty nice structure here of talking about what is PowerPoint Cameo, a little bit of like how to like the basics, right? We'll start out with the basics here pretty quickly. Get your camera into PowerPoint and what you can do with it, and then we want to move on to other topics like how to add other things to your slide to make your PowerPoint kind of like the stage for your live show, right? Can we recreate this layout that you're watching right now? Instead of using Restream, can we use PowerPoint Cameo in a Teams meeting? Or instead of using OBS, could we use just PowerPoint Cameo? Could we get away with not having to install OBS, have the overhead of that? Because a lot of people in the pandemic, they kind of got into OBS right at the beginning of the pandemic and geeked out about it. And it's really exciting because it was this kind of niche application that not a ton of people knew about. And it almost went mainstream to like normal people learning how to do OBS, which is really cool because it gives you a lot more appreciation for what live producers, you know, have to deal with. But for a lot of people, it's kind of overkill, to be honest, for just like, I want to have my meeting with like my name across the bottom. Like OBS is a little bit too much for that, in my opinion. So I think I want to explore in this session what can we do to maybe get rid of some of those OBS types use cases and just put it into PowerPoint, make it part of your presentation. So I think this is going to be really, really fun.
Yeah, I agree. This is going to be really cool.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
I
of
think
it as
this is going to be awesome if you can install stuff like the comment here. I know I've struggled with that. I've got a new enterprise laptop and I'm not on it right now, but on my other enterprise laptop, I can't install NDI on it because it's locked down. I can't do like plugins inside of OBS. All my fancy stuff I like to use, not allowed by security. So maybe this can help people out because hopefully everybody can run PowerPoint.
I think this is
So
going to democratize a lot of what we've been able to do with tools like OBS for the last couple of years, those of us that took the time to dive into it, but also those of us that are facing some of the admin constraints on our systems, the inhibiting the ability to work with some of these third-party tools within like our corporate environments. This is going to open up some possibilities for us to create some more engaging content and to take some of that creator mentality and bring it into some of the everyday work that we do in the efforts of driving adoption and engagement with the content that we're actually presenting. I've been a huge proponent of OBS, but I realized that there's a learning curve that goes along with that, and there's some cool things that I can do. So it's really exciting to see some of that starting to kind of roll out now inside of PowerPoint and PowerPoint Live and Teams meetings, and to be able to open it up for other people to be able to do some similar things. It also means I got to go and learn how to do new things in those other tools to kind of stay on the cutting edge there.
Yeah, no. Well, let's dive in because speaking of cutting edge, like to me, Cameo is kind of cutting edge because I haven't had a chance to use it very much. It just showed up for me, I think, about a week ago in my Mac install on my corporate computer. So you definitely have more experience with seeing Cameo earlier than I have. So why don't you drive us through like what Cameo can do for us? How do we add our camera to our PowerPoint, things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is going to be a very meta presentation because I'm going to use Cameo and PowerPoint and kind of the screen and kind of walk you through some of this sequentially. So this isn't
Yeah.
necessarily a best practices for delivering a technical presentation. This is kind of the behind the scenes view of setting it up and kind of working with it. So just starting off, first and foremost, what is Cameo? It's an object that we can insert into one of our PowerPoint presentations. Like you would insert an image or you would insert like maybe a video. You insert this object into your PowerPoint and you're going to be able to feed a live camera into it directly, your webcam. So you can pick the webcam from your system and you're going to be able to insert that in the slide. This is really big, I think, because one of the things that we've had in PowerPoint in Microsoft Teams for quite a while was the presenter mode where you can present content, but you're overlaid on top of that content. So you're basically kind of moving back and forth in front of that content. And in some cases, you're obstructing that content. This gives us the ability to insert ourselves along with that content strategically so we can have like a high level of branding and polish and professionalism to a presentation. So putting that placeholder, that object into the slide also means that we can make it repeatable across slides. We can kind of figure out exactly where we want it. Now, Cameo is available for Microsoft 365 subscribers, works on Windows and Mac. I don't know if it's out of the preview yet, but I'm starting to see it across all of my different devices now, and not all of them are in preview channels. But I've definitely had it on my personal device for a while now.
Yeah, my corporate device is definitely like about as late ring as you can get, and I see it there now. So it looks like it's pretty much rolled out globally. I'm curious, the Microsoft subscriber thing. Do you know does this work with like individual and family 365 accounts, or do you need a business or better, like
I do not know
enterprise,
the
business
answer to
premium?
that. I
Okay,
pulled this
I'm curious about
directly
that.
from the Microsoft Docs with support.microsoft.com and then a couple of blog articles. It's actually listed down at the bottom, and we can make these available through chat if the link's available through chat. But it did not mention whether it was available to the public 365 SKUs or not.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious about that.
All right, so just a couple things to know about this. There's the camera on-off settings. That says that they're not currently enabled in the slideshow and presenter view. You'll see what we mean about that in a minute. There's some nuances to how you start your camera and turn your camera on and off whenever you work with this. Switching of cameras while you're in presentation mode is not possible either. That would be an ask for Microsoft. Like I go to this slide, maybe switch over to the second webcam, or have an option to do that without having to stop and restart the slide deck. supposedly virtual cameras are not supported. When John and I tested this last week, the virtual cameras worked for him, but did not work for me. As of a couple of hours ago, the virtual camera was working for me. And I've seen a couple other people online that the virtual camera has
Mm-hmm.
worked. So a virtual camera meaning not a direct webcam feed, but like maybe OBS feeding a virtual camera into your PowerPoint presentation as a software-based
Mm-hmm.
camera on your system. I have seen it working. It might not work for everybody. It didn't work for me last week, but it is working today. And then only one app at a time can be accessing the camera on your computer. So that means if Teams is using the camera for the Teams meeting, it's not going to show up inside of Cameo. But if I switch it over to Cameo, then it'll actually run there. But I should also add to that, only one app at a time can be accessing the camera. That also means that you're only accessing one camera at a time. And we'll dive a little bit deeper into that as we're
Yeah.
moving through some of this here today. And again, this is all pulled directly from their support documentation.
And I added that little on Windows tag. This is something it's a limitation of Windows, right? So as a Mac user myself and a Mac user Andy and our friend Matt Wade and our friend Sean Bugler, like we're all Mac fanboys in the Microsoft ecosystem. So to put my fancy Mac hat on, if you're on a Mac, you can have multiple apps access your camera. So you may keep that in mind if you happen to be a Mac user like us. You're a little bit luckier in that you have a little bit more flexibility. So I just wanted to get that little stab in there.
Nice little asterisk there.
Right.
Also, I really like how the auto update feature, as we're collaborating on this deck from many states apart,
Yeah,
is
hundreds of
actually
miles
working.
away.
Yeah. All right. So let's dive into it. How do you insert a Cameo? It's actually super easy. So once Cameo starts to show up in PowerPoint, you would be able to go to the Insert tab up at the top. And then from there, you're going to see the Cameo object. It shows up in the upper right-hand corner. For me, I believe it's the same on both Windows and Mac. From there, you're going to get an object that you can insert into your PowerPoint, and you're going to be able to move this around the PowerPoint and interact with it however you want. There is the preview icon that shows up in the middle, and that's going to activate that object. And then from the camera tab that'll appear in the ribbon up at the top, you'll be able to further work and manipulate that Cameo object. So put the instructions here in the PowerPoint. Just want to make sure I bring them up on the screen for anybody who's viewing this recording a little bit later. So once you go and you activate that, so I'm going to click in to activate it. So now I've got this new camera format option up at the top. And from this particular tab, I'm going to be able to work with all the different tools that are actually supported in Cameo. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the camera that I want to feed into my Cameo object. So I get the drop down there, and you can see I can select from a number of different cameras. So this one is my built-in out of the box webcam, comes right inside of my MacBook Pro. This one right here is actually coming from my Atom Mini. So that's an HDMI feed into my computer. And then the rest of these are actually virtual cams. When we tested this a week ago on my machine, none of these actually showed a picture, but having played around with it over the last couple of days, these have actually started to light up and work for me. So it looks like maybe some updates have rolled out, and I would be able to use a virtual cam in order to feed into that object. So for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to do my Blackmagic cam, and that should turn on. And there I am.
Hey, there he
right
is.
inside of the presentation. So you get a real-time preview of it as you're actually working with it. You can see in the presentation what it's going to look like as you're actually building it out. Now, from there, you can start to have a lot of fun, because using these objects along the top, we're going to be able to manipulate this, change the camera shape, borders, and effects, change the layering. And I've got a whole bunch of slides coming up on that. It's not going to be death by PowerPoint, but this is all demo based, just kind of walking us through this sequentially. But we can take advantage of all of these tools up here, just like if you were embedding an image into your PowerPoint, or if you were embedding video in the PowerPoint as well. So just kind of going down the line. You're going to be able to adjust. All you got to do is grab the anchor holds, and then you're going to be able to adjust and work with that content just like that. And you can kind of move it around, however you want. Take advantage of that. I'll just put it on top of me and I'll hang out behind it for a moment or two. So use the anchors. You can adjust it. It does support your animations and transitions. My favorite one being Morph. We'll talk about that one in just a little bit. And even Design Ideas works with the tool, which is pretty neat. I'm not sure if it's going to actually pick up with this slide because there's a background. Yeah, so it's showing me a couple of different layouts. So even Designer is going to work with it and give you a couple of suggestions. And it looks like they actually have got it now where it's actually looking at the background effect in there and
Nice.
creating something on top of that. So that's a very welcome addition there. And then whenever you're ready to present, it's just a matter. I'm going to bounce back a couple of slides, go into your slide presenter view. I'm just doing a viewed on a single window, and then you can move through and it's going to activate pretty seamlessly. And then from there, you can just deliver your presentation. Now we're going to get into some of the cool and the nuanced things that you can do with it, but you can see like that actually had the morph effect on it. So it took that small thing and just kind of slowly grew it in, filled in the back of the scene there.
A little bit like the move transition in OBS.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So working with this just a little bit, going a little bit deeper, you can do some cool things with the camera shapes. So just activate this, go up to the camera format tab at the top, and you're going to be able to work with some of the predefined shapes. These are very similar to what you normally get with any kind of image or any kind of video object embedded in a slide. Rectangles, squares, circles, a couple other shapes. There's some with borders and then there's some without, but you can fully format this however you want. If you want to change the camera to something else, you've got the series of options over here that you can take advantage of. Some of these definitely look better than others. So if like you're working with it, some of these are definitely going to be a little bit better than others. So like I'll do this one, just switch it over to, it's got a circular, make that a little bit bigger. So, and view out of it or back out of it a little bit. So I just put rounded corners on it. Quick, easy, and I can go back and manipulate that a couple of different times.
And you can like adjust the radius of those. Yeah.
Yeah. And depending on the object, like I said, some are going to look a little bit better than others. And you can resize, and it'll resize the feed inside of there. And I should be looking at the camera, but it's down here on my screen. So you have to see the top of my forehead for a minute as I go through this.
I'm bad about that. I'm looking to you off screen too. So I'm like, it looks like I'm like glancing off the window.
Make eye contact with the camera, Andy.
Right.
All right. So just going to, do a couple more. And like, once you find one that you like and you want to work with, you can always get a full screen and preview it. Just takes a second.
One of the crazier ones I've seen is the star.
Yeah.
There was one YouTube video I saw where they used a star. That was pretty crazy.
Where is the star?
I'm curious, can I change your shape? Let's try co-authoring real quick. So here's okay, so it changed to the star. What if I changed it to a call out? It updated on yours.
Yeah.
Then I just kind of moved you.
Good to know.
So then I could move you like this, and I could take the call out and do it like that to say, hey, there you go. The camera format button. Dude, that's rad. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's
I like that.
Pretty neat. And I think if you combine that, I wonder how that's going to affect if you use this keep slides updated option. So you're supposed to be able, if you're doing a co-authoring version of this and you're displaying this PowerPoint live, if somebody else updates a slide later on while you're in the act of presenting, I wonder if it's going to do that, if it's going to make that change, or if it's going to make that update while you're actually
a behind the scenes person.
Yeah, like if you need to adjust the slide, prior to the speaker getting to it. And one thing it's kind of hard to like to demo, but when you're working with this, and if you turn on the live preview, it does preview. But if you go and you click on like another app, it will deactivate the cam. So like maybe you go and click on another app,
it kind of goes away.
You're looking at something. When you come back to PowerPoint, it will it'll pick back up, and then you can keep working with it from there.
Yeah. There you go. I made you normal size again.
pretty easy to change your shapes, and then you can start doing some fun stuff beyond that. And we'll get into more of this, but like if you want to add a border to it, you can pick your border, and then once the border's on there, you would be able to use the format pane. It's going to look, I think the format pane will be a little bit different for those of you that are on Windows, but you can go and start adding like weight to the border. I'm going to switch this over. Let's do a rounded corners. It's a little too rounded for me, so let's move that back just a little bit. I like that a little bit more. And see, I can make it pretty polished inside of there just by taking advantage of some of the camera shape, the camera border option, pick your color, pick your weights, dashes, whatnot. And then there's even
Pretty
the
nice.
effects. So like if you wanted to add a shadow to it, you could do that, or a reflection. If you wanted, you could add that. So
Yeah,
like
it's
now
probably
we're
the
getting
most
this,
noticeable.
yeah. So like I'll move this up a little bit, and take these shapes and move them up as well. Yeah, so now we get kind of this, reflection going on, and then when we go into the presentation, you see we're getting that. It almost gives it like it's an actual, floor and kind of coming back up, which is kind of cool. And I mean, you can do some neat little things with this. It does take a whole lot of effort. So in the OBS world, we might have to layer a shape on top of a shape, and then crop out the middle of the shape, and then add a plugin to
An
like maybe
alpha
do,
mask and all kinds of
yeah.
stuff.
And I
Yeah.
mean, and that stuff can get a little tedious, especially as you're moving from object to object. So like I'm going to put a camera feed in here, and then I'm going to put a filter on top of it, and then I'm going to do an alpha mask on top of this, and then I need to go and add it as an object inside of a scene, and then I need to maybe embed a scene in a scene. Like it can get a little crazy. So I really like doing this because these things are kind of easy. I think most end users are going to be able to approach this pretty easily. So just taking advantage of the shape, the border, and the effects inside of there, which is really cool. Now, we're going to get into a whole bunch of other stuff, but I do want to go ahead and mention right away cropping. You can crop the object, so you would be able to crop down like inside of the objects if you want to make that a little bit, bring it in a little bit, focus a little bit more on the user. Absolutely, you can do that, no problem. And I'll bring this kind of over to the side, a little bit further down. I think that looks pretty good.
Pretty
And then
nice. You could even add 3D effects, right?
Yeah, I believe
It's
so.
like I could skew it. Actually, no, 3D rotation and bevel are disabled.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I saw those pop up somewhere, but I make a lot of PowerPoints, so I'm probably misremembering. All right. So yeah, we can do the cropping. Now, we'll show you in the cool tips and tricks some of the things that we figured out that you can do with cropping that aren't obvious whenever you're working with this camera. So we'll circle back to the cropping feature in just a little bit. The next thing I want to mention is this whole section here with layering, how you handle basically the way that these objects are ordered inside of your presentation. So you can see like it does add it as a layer inside of there. And that means that we can take advantage of that and do a couple of neat things. So like if we wanted to, we could create like something like this, and then depending on how we want to present it, like we might even be able to bring that content over. We could apply like a gradient or something to our content. So the way that we order this stuff, the way that we layer it, can also have an impact on how that content is presented as part of the presentation that we're going to be getting. So that's where you're going to be able to go in and figure out, do I want to send this to the front? Do I want to send this to the back? How do I want to layer it on top of that? And you can do some neat things. Like say, for example, I wanted to add like my company logo to this. So like I would just go in, find that file. Give me just 1 second. This will be pretty quick. 28,000 folders later.
While you're finding that, I wanted to point out our friend Mr. Diamond from Israel is watching. He has a SharePoint Wizard YouTube channel. Definitely check him out. Search for SharePoint Wizard on YouTube, and subscribe to him because he posts a ton of videos very frequently that are little bite-sized tips. He had a really good comment though that I totally agree with. I wish you could add this to every slide. If you could just like select it and have it be part of like the template or something. that would be kind of nice to apply
Hold on to
across
that
all
thought
of
for
them.
just a few minutes.
Yeah, maybe you could use format paste or something like that, but that might be
Yeah.
something to, is there any tips or tricks around duplicating the format across multiple slides?
Hold on to that thought for just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. All right. So I just added company logo. I'm just using the layering just to bring it
Mhm.
to the front so you can see it, pretty straightforward. And you have a whole bunch of different options with that. You could color in the background if you want. You could put a shape behind it, make your own gradient. The options are basically unlimited because you're going to be able to insert tables, pictures, video, shapes,
Mhm.
icons, whatever you want in there. You're going to be able to fully take advantage of that. So the layering can actually come into play. All right. So I think just moving forward, I don't want to get too deep into this one yet, but let me actually do this. I'm going to back up a couple of slides. I'm going to go into the
Okay.
slide view. All right. So here we are. We're in the slide view. And then let's just go ahead and transition from one slide to another. So that transition is actually based off of the next thing we're going to talk about, and that's Morph. Morph is the
Yeah.
equivalent of OBS Move or the Move transition plugin that is available for OBS. With Morph, it looks for objects on the slide that have the similarities or the same name. And then as you transition from one slide to another, it adds an animation. It's super easy to use Morph to animate your
Mhm.
content and not have to do a detailed animation on every single object on that particular slide deck. A lot of times, like when I'm trying to think like how to add polish to the presentation, I just create the slide deck and what I want it to look like in the final form. And then I duplicate
Mhm.
that a couple of different times. And then like I take out like the objects that I don't want. And then I go morph like 3 or 4 slides in a row and it builds up to the final and it adds all the automation for me or animation.
Mhm. But you get that
Which,
like common base across your
yep,
slides
yep.
by starting with one and duplicating.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you're just seeing a couple of different things that you can do. I'm morphing, but I'm changing shapes as I'm doing it. And this is supported in
Mhm.
in Cameo, which is really cool. So like I went from this shape with the rounded corners really big and bold, and then it just
Mhm.
nice and seamless transitions down to this shape that's got the rounded corners and the border on it, and then I can go back.
Mhm.
It makes a pretty seamless transition. And
Yeah.
then
You notice that it does kind of freeze on you while it's
just a
doing that
little bit,
animation.
yeah.
So one tip I would have is when you're adjusting your morph, get out of this and go back to the morph settings. You might go into transitions and it's set to what is that 2 seconds,
2 seconds.
2.8 seconds. You might make that shorter, like make it 0.5 or something like that, because
Yep.
then it will animate, but it will go so fast that people won't notice that like you're frozen with a weird face while it's animating.
Yeah, so
So
I'll
that
do
might be
that.
a
I
little
just applied
tip.
to all.
Okay. See,
So
that's what they need for the PowerPoint Cameo is an apply to all button. Like that would help. Yeah, see, that's a little bit less noticeable, right? Especially that
and
one when it kinda grew big, it was
no, I
less
have seen
noticeable at
this
the time.
happen a couple of times.
You just crashed PowerPoint.
Yeah, just crashed it. It has
Oops.
done that to me a couple of times while testing on some of this stuff. So just reopen the deck and go from there.
Awesome.
And then let me just go back to here. All right, so we'll go back in
Mhm.
with the video feed pickup. It's going to switch cameras on me. I'll fix that.
Oh, yeah, because
So,
that's your default in your
yep,
operating system. Yeah.
yep. So that is something to know about it. It will switch out those cameras. There we go. So
Mhm.
back to the one that I want to use now. And then we'll go back in. And the last transition I'll show is just, it's really simple to go to a different shape. Now, the way
Yeah.
that I found the best way to do this is create your slide, add your object to it, and then use the duplicate option. So just right click and duplicate the slide. And what
Mhm.
you're actually doing when you duplicate that slide, if we go and we take a look at the selection pane, is I've got title 1 and I've got camera 3. So camera 3 is the name of the object. If I go back to the previous slide, it's got the exact
Mhm.
same name. So Morph is looking for, in this case, an object with the same name to be able to apply. So as I'm just using camera 3 across all of these different slides, it makes it really easy for it to transition. But if each one of these had like a different
Yep.
name, it might not know exactly how to connect the two. Now, with that in mind, Microsoft does recommend a naming convention. I put it on this slide. I'll leave this up on the screen, so you can pause or whatever you want to do later to see this. But Morph gives you control over what you want to animate and what you don't. And so through the naming convention, if you use the 2 exclamation points, assign basically the same custom name to two objects across 2 different slides, you can use that as a way to control the transition animation that you want to use. So in their example, they're using exclamation point shape 1 on slide 7 and on slide 8. And then they assign the morph transition to slide 8, and the circle morphs into the square. Well, we just saw that I just have the same name on all the slides, and so it's actually working pretty seamlessly. So I've been doing the duplicate slide option, and that's renaming things with the same name, which has been really helpful.
That's a super pro tip. Doing the 2 exclamation points links it to a different name on the other one, as well as it's a pro tip to use that selection pane in general. Can you show how to get to that selection pane again?
So,
because I think a lot of people don't know that exists.
So like I'm just going to select this object here and then go to the tab that activates for it. And then here's the selection pane that shows up right there. So like if I had a picture on one of these, I would go to the picture tab. There would be the selection pane. If I had a video, go to the video tab. There's the selection pane. And then once you open it up, you can bring it up on the side.
Another place I've found it is if you don't have anything selected or you don't have like a special tab, the arrange button up at the top, if you click on that, at the bottom, it says selection pane too. So that's another way to open up the selection pane.
Yep.
But yeah, when I'm doing my final touches, especially when I'm animating stuff, when I'm doing my final touches, I leave the selection pane pretty much on all the time. And I think a lot of people don't know it exists. So I wanted to point that out again, that like that's a tool that you're going to love when you start using it.
Yeah, once you start using the selection pane, you can't live without it. I want a quick shortcut so I can put it on my quick access bar up at the top and make it visible. I just haven't figured out how to do that yet. I play around with it for like 5 minutes, get frustrated and quit. I'll figure that out one day. But with the selection pane activated, you can do some really interesting things. So like if you need to work with something and you've got layers on things and you can't get to the thing in the background, just hide the thing on top of it. The selection pane allows you to turn on and off visibility of that object, which is really nice. But it also allows you to rename things. So like I can come in here and rename this, and I can put my exclamation points at the beginning, and then I can make sure that I'm transitioning between the slides with the same name intact. And as you move from like one slide to another, it will update. So in this case, like it's showing me title 1, camera 3, title 1, camera 3, content placeholder number 2, and I can rename those and do what I want with it. Now I'll show you. Let me see if I can do this. I'm going to take this thing right here and let's just duplicate this slide. All right. And then I'm going to take this object. I'm going to make it bigger and let's just put it in the center of my presentation. And then we'll take this slide and I'm going to duplicate twice. I'm going to take this guy, drop it down here, take this, maybe move it over to this side. And then like in a sequence, you would get something like, let me just show, hopefully this will work. There we go. And then transitions, and you get kind of a carousel effect.
Nice.
As you're moving across. Now, use this stuff tastefully. But with a carousel effect, you can also do this one other thing, which is kind of cool. All right, so let's just duplicate this again. And then this time, I'm going to go into the slide itself, and I'm going to take this thing, and I'm just going to move it off to the side. And then I'm going to go back to here, duplicate that, and I'm going to take this guy, and I'm just going to move it off. And then you can do some really interesting things with like negative space. All right, so this is the beginning, and now it's going to move off to the side, do whatever I need, and then it comes back on.
Yeah, rather than just disappearing, you can animate yourself off stage for the slide that has too much stuff on it.
Fly out transition for some of this, but
the cool thing about the object.
Yeah, and this just saves like the animation pass. I don't have to do the animation pass. I can just tell it to morph, and like, you know, I have to add a couple of extra slides to my deck, but if I'm the one presenting it, you know, it's a pretty cool little thing to do. But the really cool thing
Nice.
is when you start working with a couple of different objects, you can do, let me see if I can just find this, open this real quick. Let's see if it's this one. So this is like a carousel. This is a placeholder carousel. So like I could put 5 things on the slide, and then I can like move through, and like you see 4, and then 5 is going to come over to the side. And so like I got bullet points underneath there. Well, I'm doing this with images, but I could do this with a Cameo tool. I could drop, you know, a Cameo into one of those
Yeah, you're kind
things
of
that I'm
rotating.
like carouseling around. And I didn't.
That's
There's
where
not
it
a
would be
single
so
animation path
nice
in any of
to
this.
add unique cameos, right? If you could have multiple cameras, be able to carousel through them, or have panels, stuff like that.
Yeah, and
You could really
can
get
do
powerful with that.
some really cool visualizations with it. You want to be like strategic in how you apply some of those transitions and things. Like you don't want to have, you know, 300 slides or 25 slides of actual content, and, you know, just flex your PowerPoint skills. But like you can do some neat little things like with this,
A gig and a
make
half size
engaging
PowerPoint
stuff.
file.
Yeah, and that it does
Yeah.
increase the size of the file as you're working with some of that. All right, so that just shows a couple of things that like you can do with the morph transition and with duplicating the slide. And it doesn't take a whole lot of work, and it'll save you a whole bunch of time versus creating custom animations and animation paths. So I'm a huge fan of Morph. Been a fan of it since it came out. I use the mess out of it, and then taking advantage of that negative space, you can do some really cool stuff. So I want to circle back to the question we had just a little while ago. Which one is it?
Talking about this one?
Yeah. All right. So adding this to all of your slides. Well, that's where your slide layouts are going to come into play. Taking advantage of the slide layout option, we can design the deck, and you can add the Cameo as an object in the slide master. So I've got some instructions here for it. It's actually really simple to do. You're just going to go to the View tab. You're going to look for Slide Master, and then in the Slide Master view. So Slide Master here, you're going to be able to pick and choose your formats. And I've got one that I've added to this particular presentation here, but I can, you know, manipulate it however I want, drop it into, you know, the deck. In this case, let's go with our rounded corners. And let's give it the border, modify the border weight. I think 3 point looked pretty good. I'm going to just trim down those just a little bit. There we go. I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and close the master. And then it's just a matter of next time I want to create a new slide. Well, I've got a custom layout that I can use. And
with Cameo
now
on it. Oh, yeah.
Already in. Yeah, already embedded.
Nice. That's a great idea, dude.
Now, the thing that mine's showing my camera by default, but that's a placeholder. So if somebody else were to play the presentation, it would look for their camera, and it would feed in. You're creating a placeholder in that deck for that Cameo object, and then just use your slide master to format the presentation however you want, and then there you go.
Yeah.
So reusable.
Dude, that's a great idea. Another thing, so that popped a question in my mind for anybody who might happen to be from Microsoft watching is, will that work if you take that slide layout, you've done all your masters, you've built a corporate template, save it as a POTX file, put it on SharePoint, deliver it to everybody, you know, deploy in your company? Can you bake Cameo now into your official branded corporate templates, deploy that out, and now, you know, it's just an object like any other object? I'm curious about that, if anybody has used exporting as a template with Cameo objects.
Yeah, I haven't exported it as a template, but I don't see why it wouldn't work.
I don't see why it wouldn't work, but that's just something maybe people can put in the chat if they've done that before. That'd be good to clarify, as there might be brand marketing people watching who are thinking about, man, we could incorporate the camera view into some of our slide templates. That's pretty sweet. That's a good
Yeah.
idea about SlideMaster. I always forget SlideMaster exists. I don't really
Oh,
use it that often.
I spent a lot of time
Yeah.
there, cleaning up decks and doing neat
Mhm.
little placeholders and things like that, because you're making something repeatable, something that you can
Yeah.
go back to a little bit later on and save yourself some time. So there's some reusable aspects to it as well. So creating your design. And then the last thing I'll mention about the
Yeah.
design, and this is actually on one of the slides here, but the last thing about the design, like once you update it,
Mhm.
or if you make any changes to it there in SlideMaster, it'll push out to any slide that's using it. This slide did not have this layout whenever we started, so it updated.
Oh,
It was
yeah, it'll
actually over here.
remotely just push it out to all of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
any
good
slide
point.
that's referencing that particular layout. But the last thing is, like, once you create the design, you're going to want to make sure you save that. So you're just going to go into your design tools and then save the current theme, save the current
Mhm.
design, and you can give that, we'll call this Cameo custom. I'll just save
Yep, and
that,
then
and
that way
now
you
it's
could apply
available
your
in my
theme
menu, and I
in
can just
future
select
slide
that.
decks.
Yep, on this
Nice.
machine. Yeah. Yep.
I need to take an advanced PowerPoint class. This is all stuff I learned, like, in college that I've forgotten.
Oh man, I've been sending you some of this stuff, like little short snippets of things that I do in PowerPoint, in our private Twitter chat that we've had going on for a while
Yeah,
now.
like how
I
you're,
mean,
like, blowing my
that.
mind with, like, OBS tricks and stuff too.
So I found this really cool thing, John. I got to share it. Check out what I did. You get like 5 of them in a row.
That's awesome, dude.
All right. So do we want
Cool.
to transition to the next part?
Yeah, let's talk about PowerPoint Live in Microsoft Teams and how you can do it during a live meeting. And then Benita has asked about PowerPoint recording. We do have that on the list. We're going to talk about recording your Cameo locally as well. But I think I'm going to star that, Benita, so we'll come back to it. But I think a lot of people probably use PowerPoint mostly in their live meetings through Microsoft Teams or Zoom or whatever. But let's talk about like some of the team's special sauce with PowerPoint Live and Cameo. So, what slide are
I
we
can
on
pull that
here?
up.
Yeah, we're on slide 21. So,
Yep.
PowerPoint Live, we've talked about this in the past before about the amazing thing that is PowerPoint Live. You can have your slides rendered from the server side on everybody's computer. That way, they get a super high quality version of it. They can remotely translate the slides to suit their needs. You can annotate on the slide. Well, now, recently, and I believe you have to be in the Teams public preview currently. But if you have
Correct.
public preview, you can now choose Cameo as your kind of presenter option. So you used to be able to do standout or just show your slides. Now you can also incorporate that Cameo view so that your beautiful design that you did, you don't have to share your screen in order to enjoy that. You can now just do PowerPoint Live and use all those great features that we were used to. So Andy's
Yep.
showing us right now on the screen. He's got his team's meeting up. How do we get into it?
So camera on, share.
Mm-hmm.
This is the PowerPoint Live that I want to broadcast.
Yep. The deck we
All
were
right.
just
So,
working on, it's already synced up to his OneDrive. It's available to select.
and this worked earlier. Hold on.
Oh yeah, it was up there in the top.
Oh, was it?
Do you want to DM me the that in the chat, that meeting link, and I'll join it too?
Yeah, I'll do that in 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
Get that off screen. I don't think I switched tenants. This was working like an hour ago. I'm in public preview.
Yeah, I'm curious to join so I can. We'll see if it works for me.
Hold on, let me do this. I'm gonna end the meeting real quick.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna restart Teams.
Sure. Did you do a scheduled meeting?
No, that was just
Or
an
did
ad
you just
hoc.
do a meet now? Okay.
Yeah.
Phil's got a comment on here too. The only thing that put me off of this in Teams PowerPoint Live is it was released without web browser support, only mobile and desktop. So Phil, are you saying you can't view the person in line from the web? Is that correct? You only see it on the desktop? Morgan said he's seen the same thing too. See, that'd be something for us to explore too. We can join from the web and make sure. I'm curious, Morgan and Phil, what happens on the web version? Does it just show the little silhouette as a placeholder?
We can test that as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So here it's working.
Okay,
I just
yeah,
turned on. So when I went into share, I just did the stand or
you're standing out.
Yeah, standout layout.
You're in standout mode.
Yeah. So this is what we want to address. Like, this is what we were talking about, like at the very beginning. Like when you're in PowerPoint Live, like here I am, but I'm in front of my content. Like I'm obscuring the content. So like this is cool. And like I've done, the overlay like this using OBS, but I find myself like, let me lean this way and point like, there's,
yeah.
So I'm doing like
it's
that.
Like it's Twitch streamer mode.
Yeah. Like, and I mean, it's cool, but it also does like the auto cropping of the background, and it's gotten a lot better. It does a really good job actually. But wearing headphones, it's kind of obvious. So with that, you can go into your layout option up at the top now, and then you can switch from whatever mode that you're in to the Cameo view. And if your PowerPoint has a Cameo object built into it, voila, there it is.
It looks for that and pops your camera right in there.
And so as you move through your deck, it just brings it in. So now you're doing PowerPoint Live, feeding it through Teams in the cloud. You've got your presentation. Everything's nice and neat and polished. Any transitions or anything like that you've done, you can take full advantage of, and you'll be able to work with it. It supports things like your morph and so forth, and everything is just built right in.
Yeah. You're intentionally part of the design of the deck rather than just being in the bottom corner, potentially covering something.
And like, I've noticed that it also does some really other interesting things. So like, for example, here I am, you can kind of see my background a little bit. So like, I'll go in and let's turn on background effects. Add a blur. There's my background blur. Now I'm just,
oh wow, so it's doing the effect in Cameo. Oh wow, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Does it just the blur or your actual background can do? Wow, that's rad.
Yeah, you can apply the backgrounds. Yeah. And so, you have a whole bunch of different options.
If it is captured by the meeting recording, we've got that on the list, don't we?
Yeah, that's something to test. And there's, with the background and talking about this, I do want to point out, like, like
a proper
if I did a green screen, can I filter out? Like, that's one of the things OBS can do that I can't do. I can't filter out.
Yeah, there's not a chroma key in PowerPoint.
No, there's not. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. So I could just chroma key that out or whatever. But like, I don't necessarily have to. I can use like a background effect. I can go and like, I can add my own custom background effect if I need to. And like with the green screen behind it, it just minimizes like the background distraction. I mean, we can see it here in Restream because I didn't crop it in, but like on this deck, like I can minimize the background distraction. And like, I'm still wearing headphones. You still see a little bit of that, but overall, like when you put it in line with your other content, makes for, just a cleaner presentation, or you can use the blur effect. Yeah. So it's pretty neat. Thought I would just, I did some testing on that. Thought it was pretty cool.
Nice. Subtly reaches back and pulls out a green screen that I've had on a wish list for like a year.
Subtle or quiet by any means.
I've thought about getting a green screen so many times just to be able to do like fun stuff like that. I wouldn't use it in my day-to-day, so I haven't pulled the trigger on the money yet.
Oh, I got one early 2020 because of OBS and Chroma Key, and it gave me the ability to do the standout view, which is now baked into PowerPoint Live.
Yeah, one less accessory to have to buy.
Yeah, and like now I don't really need it because like being able to use PowerPoint Live with Cameo, I can now build my content around the object placeholder, and I can be fully involved in that presentation. So I know we've got the question out there. What does it record? So I'm actually going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to record.
Yeah. The theory is they don't think it's going to record because the presenter modes don't record right now.
So I'm a big fan of fantasy football, and one of the fantasy football podcast shows that I watched for a long time was on ESPN with Matthew Berry, who has since gone on to NBC. But whenever they got to a point where they were trying to figure out, and if a guy was going to go over or under, a certain amount of yards or touchdowns or whatever, they would create a board bet and they would put it on the board. And so I think this is one we can put on the board. Is it going to record it or is it not going to record it? It's going to be interesting to see that. I'm optimistic. I think it's going to record it. I see a few of you out there that you don't think that it's going to record it. So we're just going to find out.
I'm with the negative crew. I don't think it's going to record.
All right. So I think you
got enough.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and stop this.
Yeah, we'll let that render out and then see what it looks like.
Give me just a moment, and I'll see if I can pull up my drive. Ooh, that was a channel meeting. I got to go to SharePoint. Hold on.
And I've got a comment from Morgan a while back that while we're waiting for that is he has a great point. Now we just need to be able to also add a screen as one of these Cameo objects. Like now that you've given us a taste of Cameo and what it can do, the enhancements, the version 2.0 wish list is just growing, right? And ballooning. I would love to be able to add unique camera objects. I really want to be able to assign those camera objects to specific cameras or even like Teams participants. That would be killer. And then like Morgan said, I'd love to have a Cameo screen object so that if I've got another monitor over here and that's kind of my presentation monitor, I could maybe assign that to a Cameo object, and then I could do true side-by-side or picture-in-picture while I go demo, so that way like I could have a demo screen and then my main screen, and I could be driving my PowerPoint presentation, and I could just smoothly say, let's go into the demo. And it would just go to my Cameo object of that screen, do my little demo, and then boom, just hit next slide to go to the next point and take away that demo screen. That would save the whole, stop sharing, start sharing, go back to PowerPoint Live, all that dance that you have to do. That would be super cool, Morgan. That's a great point.
I can't wait until we get to the fun tips or tricks.
Yeah, because I know we can do that, and we'll show that with OBS. But it would be super cool to have that all native.
All right. So those of you that said no were correct. It does not record the Cameo object currently in PowerPoint Live in a Teams meeting.
It just gives you that nice little thing right there. Now, here's another thing for Microsoft feedback is, rather than that, if you were connected to Teams and Teams is logged in, PowerPoint is logged in, why can't that show my avatar? Like, why can't that show my picture? So like a little bit of like, hey, you've got all the pieces here. If we could get those things stitched together, like PowerPoint being aware of the Team's identity, then you could really start to kind of like pass that smart stuff in and out of that platform. So yeah, anything to stop the awkward switching. Yeah, Phil, that would be pretty crazy. Like, man, there's like 4 or 5 things if they add it PowerPoint. At what point do you think PowerPoint would tip over and become a production tool instead of a presentation tool? Those lines are kind of blurring these days. With
I want to go back to Phil's comment for just a second. The next slide, please.
The awkward slide switching.
So Microsoft has the tools to be able to do this. We have noise suppression. We have Azure Cognitive Services where they can analyze, voice and audio. So what I'd like to see is a AI tool built into Teams where if somebody says next slide, please, noise suppression kicks in. We don't
Oh
hear
my
that, and
God.
it automatically transitions to slide with their voice. Can we do that?
Dude, that's genius. That is that's that is such a good idea that if somebody says next slide, it just blanks that out, but does the next slide as if you had cursed or something instead.
Riley,
Oh man, that'd
if
be
you're
crazy.
watching this, or if watching this live or watching this recording later on, pick me through the MVP channels. Let's have a conversation. I'll give you all my ideas on that.
That's a good idea. That's a free idea, PowerPoint. That's yeah, Phil likes that one too. Yeah, as Morgan's saying, like it'd be so cool to use this as more of a production tool because PowerPoint is
Hold
just
that
so
thought.
powerful with graphics, you know.
Hold that thought.
So, yep,
Yep. All right. I'm gonna.
awesome. So we've seen how you can drive a meeting from there. It doesn't record it, but you can see it live if you're on the desktop or mobile app, not on the web. But it's a step in the right direction. Merging those two things together, you don't have to have it in a separate app. That's pretty great.
All right. Let me see if I can do this. I know we wanted to see the.
Yeah, notifier. That'd be nice, Phil. What were you trying to see? You bringing up the web version?
Yeah, and when I did that, it
Okay.
disabled my camera on the other one.
Oh, because like you took focus away.
Yeah, that's it's not what I wanted. Give me a second.
If you want to invite me, I could show my screen, I guess, and join from Edge.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll
See
do
what it
that
looks
now.
like. Yeah. Just private chat it to me and restream. Yeah, what they've got so far is pretty awesome. As we're throwing like ideas out there, like, oh, you guys really should do this. It's a little bit of looking a gift horse in the mouth, right? Like they've done some pretty amazing stuff that in 2020 at the start of the pandemic would have like saved all of us. But we're so advanced that we're like, yeah, but can we do this other cool thing instead? So we're definitely a little bit spoiled.
We'll
With
see how this
riches here.
works. This is a channel meeting,
Yep.
and you're not part of the team, so we'll see how this works out.
What in the world? Why did it go to Bing? There we go. I was like, I did not do a Bing search. Okay, so I'm bringing up Edge here and find out where my cursor is. There we go. I'm going to allow my stuff, allow my microphone. I'm going to turn on my camera because why not? I'm going to not use audio. And then, so let's switch that to the ATEM, bring it up. All right, so I'm in the meeting here with Andy, and I do not see, I don't even see a placeholder for it.
Yeah.
You're on screen, right?
Yeah, I would be in the lower right-hand corner.
Okay. Yeah. So you just don't see anything. Honestly, I feel like that's probably better than showing the ugly kind of like avatar placeholder, the head and shoulders. So I guess that's better. And if I take control, I don't have the ability to do any kind of like standout or anything like that. I can see the placeholders.
Little update for you. Take control from the web browser. That was desktop only for a long time.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can see where there was a placeholder. See that little kind of like onion skin went across the screen? So
and like you can see at the bottom, yeah, with the
it's morphing.
The gallery preview.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So that confirms you can't see it in the recording. It puts a placeholder. On the web, it's blank, which I think is a little bit more subtle. So you don't feel like you're not getting something. So, okay. But hey, I see Andy right here, so it's not like he's gone, which is good. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing and leave the meeting then. Anything else in Teams for this? Or are you ready to go into advanced graphics?
So, I think the other question that we had related to this in the the Teams meeting is what happens
Mhm.
if somebody takes control, of the presentation. Now, we were
Mhm.
just doing cross tenant, and you were actually a guest inside of a channel that I own. But I think what we should
Mhm.
try to do is be in the same tenant, same meeting. One of us present, and then the other one take control and go from there. So I'm going to end this meeting, and I'll switch over to
Okay.
the collab more tenant, and then we can join up in a meeting in the collab more tenant, and we can get
Okay. And
see
I'll join
what
from the
happens.
app then.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'll be in the desktop app as well.
Okay. If you do that, go for my, why did my mouse thing go away? Go for this John R4
R4.
one, because
Yeah.
that's what I'm logged into. Yeah. That way I don't show any
Actually,
secrets. I'm in private preview, not in tap.
yes,
Not
I'm in
doing
yours.
anything bad.
I'm in preview
Yeah.
as well. How about you do the meeting and invite me, and then
Okay. Yeah, sounds good, man. All right. So I'm gonna do a new meeting here. We're gonna call Cameo Magic, and we're gonna add Andy.
I'm
Native
in your
or
the
guest?
upper one. I'm in your tenant
Okay,
as
you're
well.
native now. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I gave Andy a license basically to do this,
Oh wait,
and
hold on.
so
Before you send that, am I native? No, I'm sorry. I'm Andy as guest.
okay, yeah,
My
let me
bad.
add both.
Yeah.
Andy, multiple personalities. There we go.
Mm.
Okay, I'll join the meeting here. Turn on my camera. We'll not use audio. We'll get in. All right. So there I am in the meeting, and update driver. Not now.
Yeah, that happened to me earlier today.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah, the
great.
driver. They
So
must have
no
an audio.
files are available right now, so I'm gonna have to go. Dang it.
Go to PowerPoint in the background.
Oh yeah, you know what? Yeah,
There
present
you
in teams.
go.
Duh. I forgot about that magic. Yeah, so there's a pro tip. All right, we're just like throwing tips at you guys. So if you don't see PowerPoint, if you don't see your slide deck down here at the bottom, then go over to PowerPoint where your slide is probably open, hit present in Teams right here in the top corner. It'll shove it into your meeting for you. So thanks for the opportunity to show that, Andy. All right, so I'm in here and I'm going to go to Cameo, right? So there I am. I'm in Cameo, looking great. And Andy's joining here right now. Cool, there's Andy. So what do you want to see? If you steal control, the camera switches to you, right? Is that the theory?
Yeah. So let's see what happens with that. So you shared the PowerPoint from your end, and now I want to take
Okay.
control.
Okay, so
All right.
Andy is taking control. I'm going to go to Andy's screen. And it took control, but you don't have the button to do Cameo.
No, it's not showing that.
I wonder if it's because the tenant switch thing, because maybe you're not in public preview in my tenant as a guest.
Yeah. Well,
Go back to your Teams app. Do you have the P icon when you
Yes.
switch tenant? Okay, you
I
do.
do. Yep.
Well, then I don't know.
Because that's really interesting. I'm going to go forward a bunch of slides. Where is, so we're talking about PowerPoint questions.
Daryl, thanks for joining us, man. I see you're on. Your check's in the mail now for joining so early.
Where is it?
Yeah, there's a good comment. Like it's kind of a bummer that you don't get the Cameo video in that recording.
Yeah. So here's this is directly from some their tech community blog post where they announced Cameo in PowerPoint Live for public preview.
Okay.
They say, in addition, the Power Cameo will allow real-time camera setting changes in Teams too, such as changing background, which we already tested, camera source, or auto switching the presenter's live camera feed during take control. So that's the one that I
so
wanted
it's
to
supposed to work.
Yeah.
If you had the button, but it's probably
Yeah.
not working because you don't have the button right now. So if you had like logged out of Teams, logged in with the native, it probably would have worked.
Yeah.
I would imagine, if we were like in the same organization and all that.
Yeah, so I'm in your
Probably just a public preview thing right now. When it's
Yeah.
GA, it's rolled out to everybody, and you can be certain like everybody has the feature no matter what. I think it sounds like that would be pretty smooth for you, and it would actually work.
Yeah, that was one I know we were talking about when we were doing some testing, and I was really excited to see that when putting the final slides together on this, to hopefully have that happen as you pass back and forth, just have it switch to the person on the other end. But that's also something to make sure that we're aware of. It might switch your camera. Make sure you're presentable if you're going to be the one driving on the other side.
Yeah, flip your camera on automatically. Now, it didn't for me, but I wonder if that's because it got disabled when it passed to you. When it passed back to me, I did have to take the extra step up here of hitting the layout.
So let me try this. I don't even have in your meeting, I don't even have the PowerPoint Live option, so it's not going to work.
Yeah,
I was wondering if I could do PowerPoint Live from my end and try to like roll through it and have it switch over to you, but it's not going to work.
Yeah.
All right. So, but tell you what else. I'm going to try one other thing.
Okay.
Let me see real quick. This might take a minute, so we can segue while I look at this. But basically, like if you go to slide 21, there's a couple of instructions for how to insert PowerPoint Live. Just there we go, main instructions. So yeah, from the share tray, you're just gonna select the presentation and go from there.
Yeah, it detects those objects on your slide deck, and it just automatically takes your native Teams camera, puts it into that placeholder right there, which feels like a version 1. Maybe they'll extend out, hopefully, to use other people, and be able to put them into placeholders or something like that. I think that would be really, really cool from like a guest perspective. Yeah, there's it's supposed to, according to the blog post, it's supposed to be able to do like the auto switching when you do the take control, which Andy's trying something out here.
I'm gonna try to log into your tenant with the guest account you created me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, logging out of the app and logging back in. So another note here, you notice that Andy had to make sure that his camera was turned on before he started that. So you got to have a camera that's active. It's not going to turn your camera on when you go into PowerPoint Cameo. So that's something to keep track of when your team's meeting. Cameo mode selection, the drop down will only be available if the live deck already has a Cameo object inserted. So yeah, you've got to create the slide, add that camera object, then it will use it. You can't do that on the fly. You'd have to do that in the PowerPoint application itself. So yeah, Morgan's saying here like, hey, we really need Cameo recording in PowerPoint, to be able to just like record it locally in your PowerPoint. So that's another good point that we'll talk about here. Yeah. Yeah, did you get logged in?
No.
Oh yeah, there's your Teams windows loading up.
Login error where it won't let me out of my tenant. So
yeah, that's like cached credentials. Okay.
Yeah. So
well, that's fine. Well, we've got a slide saying that it should do take control. It might just be like guest access dance that happens. It might be why it's not working. Okay.
All right.
Do you want to shift gears to recording in PowerPoint and see how that goes?
So I did a little bit of testing on that, but I think it's going to be recording is going to be a little bit different on the Mac side of things versus if you record inside of Windows. There's Recording Studio built into Windows devices, and in Mac it's going to be a little bit different. So I did notice that when doing some testing, let me go back a few slides where like I have some content. Yeah, I'll go from here. So let's say I go in and let's record the slideshow. All All right, so I'm not sure what it's showing on your screen, but let me just switch up the camera real quick.
Yeah, there we go. Now I see your ATEM camera. And
Yep.
it's recording that though, not with the nice shape, it's not Cameo, right? Isn't
Yeah.
that just like a little separate object?
Yeah, basically, so I'm recording this slide, talk about the stuff that's on this slide. Now I'm ready to go on to the next slide. Okay, excellent. Here we are. This is the next slide in the deck. I'm going to talk about some more stuff. All right, cool. Now let's go on. Here's the next slide in the deck. I want to talk about some additional
See,
cool
with
stuff.
Cameo, you should have blown up
Yep.
bigger and been behind your text, but it doesn't do that when you're recording locally.
Yeah. So this doesn't have like the full recording studio. So what it has now is it creates a little recording for me in the lower corner over here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not recording the Cameo object in there. I don't know. I'm in the preview beta channel for Office on this device with this user, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the default recording options that I had whenever I worked with it. So like each one of these slides has its own little
Mm-hmm.
snippet of a recording, 7 seconds, however much, but it did not record the Cameo object in the place that it was supposed to be.
Yeah. Okay. Daryl has a great
Now,
question. How much Cameo is too much Cameo?
all the
I
Cameo.
would say you can never get enough Cameo, probably. But the naming there is a little bit interesting because, like, the camera's going to be on a lot of slides, if not all the slides. So, like, at what point is it? It's not a cameo. You're like a supporting actor or leading actor, right? You're not Quentin Tarantino in the back of just one scene. You're a little bit more prominent than that. So, is cameo the right name? I like the name Cameo though.
Yeah, I think it's a good name.
Yeah.
Because
So
I'm
the topic
making
of
a
recording,
cameo
it's
in my own presentation.
yeah. So compared to like OBS or something like that, when you record, it's going to record it as a separate object. You can move that object. You can format it after you're done recording. But with OBS, we're used to being able to hit record and just go through your scenes, right? It's not quite as native because it's not going to use those Cameo placeholders while you're recording the slide deck.
And just want to make sure that we emphasize we are currently on the Mac version of PowerPoint. For those of you that are in Windows, you might see things a little differently.
Might be
I'm
different.
actually trying to bring
Yeah.
up a Windows device right now, and I'll feed that into our presentation here, and we can take a look at what we see over
Mhm.
on that end. Virtual machines, gotta love them. Takes a minute for it to boot up. It's been
Yeah.
sitting in various phases of booting up the entire time we've been going through this presentation.
Great. So along the lines of like the FAQs or frequently asked questions, we got can the attendees see on the view? No, they cannot. So we tried that out. It's just a blank placeholder. And then hey, Cameo's not going to be shown in the recording. And then where's Cameo available? Well, it's available basically only on Mac OS and Windows right now. So your iOS, your Android clients, your web browsers, not yet. Hopefully, Microsoft will start kind of filling those in as the year goes on. So cool. So is it booted still?
It has booted. Give me 1 second. I'll try to feed it into our
Didn't
call.
blue screen, right?
That would be fun. All right. So let me see.
Morgan's asking, have you tried OBS M1 beta? I think Andy's running it, but I'm not.
Yes.
Yeah,
All
you're
right.
running it. You probably downloaded that day. I think you were DMing me on Twitter about it.
As soon as I saw it. All right, so I will apologize for the camera quality. It's the built-in webcam for this other computer, and it is running from a Mac through a Windows virtual machine. So this is not indicative
your
of
ATEM
the
right now?
quality that you would normally get in a presentation. That it would be much higher if you weren't in a virtual machine like I am. All right, so
Yeah.
let's go into, so we got the recording tab. Let me just blast through this real quick to get it out of the way. Coaching marks are great. Thanks, Microsoft.
Hey, there's
All
a
right,
Cameo
so
button up there.
yeah, there's the Cameo camera. So add that into the slides, and then we can do the recording, or like I can go here. Let's get started. Communicate with confidence. All right, I'm just gonna, okay. So here we are, we're in this slide. Let me double check, turn that on.
And I see you all formatted in that little
Yep.
Cameo box.
All right, here we go. So slide is formatted, there it is. We are in the Cameo. Let's move over to the next slide. Transition worked. There's the overlay. Everything seems to be working accordingly.
Got your rounded corners, yeah.
And then we'll head back over here. So transition, we're just gonna put some filler text, a little bit of placeholder. All right, I think that's good. We got it's in that.
Yep. So 51 seconds for the total record time.
Yep.
And now you got to go out and hit edit, right?
Well, we can edit or we can export.
Okay. Oh, so export it real quick and see if it captured the Cameo movements. Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to try to export that to your tenant. It's going to put it in the team that we're part of, in the general channel.
Okay.
Yep, it's exporting now. Exporting Cameo PPTX.mp4.
Okay.
Ooh, this is a good time for me to do, hey, Ada Mini, picture in picture.
Yeah, I was wondering, you running that Windows box into your ATEM?
Yep.
Nice. Do you have the ATEM just Mini or the Pro, or did you get the Max yet?
Ada Mini Pro ISO.
Pro ISO. Okay, nice. All right, I don't see the video quite yet in the
it's still exporting.
Oh, okay. I thought it was uploading.
We might be here for a minute. So yeah, it's moving kind of slow. I'm gonna switch back to.
Yeah, you want to switch back to your Mac?
There we go. All right.
There we go. Yeah,
I'll come back to this one, and when that finishes, we can go and look in your team, and we'll take a look at the video. It's
cool.
Again, it's going from a VM back to the cloud, so it's going to take a minute.
You've got your picture-in-picture on still, by the way.
Oh, look at that. There's Andy and Andy.
There's a mini Andy.
All those settings for the 80 Mini picture-in-picture, they're all in the softwares. You got to pull it to have it go between different cutscenes. I'm experimenting with the preview and program cutovers. So having some fun there.
Well, that's rendering out. Do you want to talk about lower thirds?
Absolutely.
One of our cool tricks.
Yeah, so cool tips and tricks. This is where we get into a lot of the fun stuff. Now, we're leaning heavily on some of the things that we have learned and skills that we've developed working with tools like OBS. And I know every time I get into like a meeting about video and PowerPoint, I'm like, lower thirds. It's a nice way to visually identify people. So it's actually super easy with Cameo. You can just use objects and shapes right inside of your PowerPoint. And if you take advantage of animations, so in this case, the animation pane, you have an intro and an exit. So you've got a intro animation and then an exit animation. You can actually create a simple lower third, and you can work with it.
You could have it kind of slowly action and stuff, and then take away.
Yep. So we'll transition from this slide to the next. So there's Andy, and then I can bring in the lower third. And in this case, you could do a manual exit of it. I've just got it set. The exit animation is going to run in 10 seconds. So it's a 10-second delay, and then automatic, nice and easy,
went away.
and just right into that. And I didn't have to do anything with any alpha channels, any chroma key masking, anything like that, and just put a shape on top of it, added the text that I want, have it show up on
It's
top of the.
definitely a lot more complicated in OBS.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So that is one thing I think was, super simple. And then like, do you want to pull you got the deck up open on your side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you bring your screen up and go
Okay.
into it?
Yep. So there's me. We've got Andy on here. So that was Andy. His lower third. It popped on screen. 10 seconds later, it faded away. So then if we go over to the next slide, see how the shape just kind of morphed a little bit. And then now we've got the one with my name on it. And what'd you set that for? Another 10 seconds and then it goes
10
away?
seconds. Yep. I just did copy and then I changed the shape. So like in this case, like doing the copy or the duplicate of the slide, it kept the same object name. So it applied that morph transition to it. And then because I duplicated the slide, then it's basically just a matter of changing out the text and making sure everything lines up. I did shrink that shape just a little bit because the size was off with like the way that the border was on the lower third. But
it's kind of cool watching a circle go to the square.
And
that's a pretty nice subtle animation.
Yeah.
I've noticed I'm not freezing. See how I'm not freezing between?
Yeah.
Man, it must be your crappy MacBook Pro versus my Mac Studio.
Yeah, your M1 chip's newer than my M1 chip.
Yep, see? Let's go back to where it was like bigger. So there's the morphs. Okay, so here's where it's small. I'm waving my hand and I don't freeze. Okay, well, so all you need is a M1 Ultra Mac Studio. So for thousands of dollars, you could not freeze too. There you go, Andy. Okay, well, that was just something that I noticed. That was it. Like, it wasn't okay. So now I'm talking. I'm, animating my hands. I'm moving around. See, that froze when it went from one to the other. Yeah. But maybe it's a performance thing. Although I think we're running the same chip, aren't we? You're like an M1 Max on your MacBook, aren't you?
Yeah.
Cool. So there's some lower thirds, some things you can do where you've got like automatically, getting it off a screen and stuff like that, animating, doing an animation path even. Now, what I would like to see out of this from the product group is I shouldn't have to, in my opinion, I shouldn't be able to have to put my name there. If I'm in a Teams meeting, you know that I'm the one on camera. So like, wouldn't it be nice if kind of like when you insert a date, right? And you're inserting a variable for the date and it fills it in automatically. What if there was a variable from Teams for first name, last name, and title? That way, when you're in the Teams meeting, depending on who's in control, right? So I take control of the PowerPoint. I've got my face on screen. The lower third comes up. It would be wonderful if it put in my name and my title, because Teams knows about that. Make that a variable in PowerPoint. And then now you could build your slide deck to be a little bit more generic. You could organically go between presenters and you've just got first name, last name placeholders. I think that would be really great.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Morph with the text would be really nice to kind of, you can morph all of your objects between whenever you're doing stuff. So if you've got specific words and text, you could like morph that whenever you're moving from one slide to the next. That could add a lot of polish. That's something you're not going to get with OBS either, because OBS is going to, with the move transition anyway, it's going to completely get that and bounce it out. But with the morph, if you do your naming the right way, you can have it morph the letters too. And that's a little bit deeper animation than what you can get with scene transitions in OBS.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Morgan.
All right, before we move into the next one, the video says it's uploaded and rendered. Do you want to go in?
Yeah, let's check that out. Go back to your ATEM input. Or wait, do you want me to go to the channel? and see what it looks like?
Yeah.
Let me reload it. All right, general channel, PowerPoint, Cameo PowerPoint .mp4. Let's play it back. I'm going to turn off the audio. So here's his, that was like 4 minutes of recording. So look at that. When you got to that recording, it's using your Cameo. So I guess it's safe to say, if you're on a PC, you get recording inside of you get it inside of the recording, but on Mac it didn't record it. It just had the static object there.
Yep.
So then accurate statement. Nice. Well, that's good to know, dude. And there's a comment about the placeholder. I'm curious why you think you wouldn't want name variable because of the way. Oh, you're saying because the way people do, like when I was at Cerner, I was like more comma space John space L. So I was last name, first name. But at EY, I'm first name, last name, which is way better in my opinion. You're saying like you wouldn't want it to be like backwards and all squirrely and stuff like that. Is that what you're saying? I think probably. I could understand that.
Sympathize with what she's saying there because I go by Andy, but my legal first name is William. So if I get into an Active Directory, that's going to be what pops up in the system. I would rather.
However, you could work with your HR department to do a preferred name, right? Like a display name. So that's an organizational problem, I guess.
How many forms do I have to fill out and how many?
Well, yeah, it might be a lot, but hey, man, people get married and change their name. You should be able to ask them to change their display name. No, I get it. There's no way I would have convinced Cerner Security to like flip my first name and last name as the only person in the company. But it's something to keep in mind. Yeah, because it's last name, first name, middle initial. That's how I was back then. At EY, I'm John L. Moore. I wouldn't put my middle initial in there, but because there's another John Moore. So I guess we just have to fight to the death for who doesn't have an initial in their name. No, that's a good point. Okay, whatever. Dang it. I just want it to be easy. Yeah, it feels like it's confusing, especially whenever it's like you're dealing with somebody in like a different part of the world, and like you may not know if that's a first or last name. My friend, he works at Microsoft now, Spencer Vincent. His last name is Vincent and his first name is Spencer. We used to joke all the time. He would get like 80% of the time when he got an email from somebody outside the organization or from another country, it was "Hello, Vincent," is how they would do it. They like missed that it was his first name. So, Morgan, this is a good question. Can you export PPT with Alpha Channel? You cannot, at least currently. What you can do that with is Mac or Apple Keynote will actually let you export a presentation with Alpha Channel. So look at Apple Keynote for that. I would love to see that in PowerPoint. There is a guy
many times.
Yeah, there's a guy, Morgan. His YouTube channel is Bradley Teaches. I think it's Bradley Vinson is his name, like Venson. Just search for Bradley Teaches. That guy does amazing guides on YouTube for how to use Keynote to make graphics for live events. So check him out because he always exports his alpha. He'll teach you how to do it. Hopefully that helps. Cool. So we've done the recording, and I'm like distracted by myself on screen. Screen twice.
Like, by the way, it actually makes like a really good talking point slide. The way that set it up, I was giving myself kudos on that one.
Yeah, to just kind of have like if you had yourself next to this, and you were just sharing your screen. I like this side by side for that. Whereas like this guy, I think that works pretty good. Oh,
Yeah.
check that out. That messed it up because now that's a video recording of you because you
Yeah.
recorded. If I delete that, it deletes the whole object.
Yep.
So it messed up my Cameo with the video instead. It replaced it.
So that's another thing to note when you go back and do the recording. It does replace that object with the recording.
Yep. Cool. Keynote
All
is
the
my
more
first
reason to
choice.
use
There you
Slide
go.
Master and layouts. So if you need to
You
reset,
could flip it back to the slide layout. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep. All right, are we
Okay.
ready for some other fun
Some
stuff?
multicam.
Yep.
Yeah, let's get ridiculous with now we're the whole thing we're leading towards here is, can we replace OBS, right? I think you can for some of the stuff like where it's entirely driven by PowerPoint. You're not doing live demos. You got PowerPoint slides with good bullet points on it. Your content is solid. You want to put your face with your content.
You're
I
not
think you
streaming
could
to
do a lot
Twitch.
there. Yeah, you're not streaming. You're in a Teams meeting. You're using PowerPoint Live. You got lower thirds figured out. They automatically fade away after 10 seconds. You're building your show now, right? Now, can you do more with that? Can we get to where we're doing like as a production suite like OBS Studio is? How far can we get? And one of those topics is multicam. Another one is scenes. So I'll talk about scenes here a little bit later, but let's handle the multicam stuff. So one challenge is I've got just this camera, right? And what if I wanted to jump to my desk camera? So I've got three things put together here on my desk. I've got this camera that I'm looking at you now. This is my Sony camera. I've got a Panasonic camera through my ATEM that's pointed at my whiteboard. This is my whiteboard. Yay, I need to clean it. And then I've got a desk camera, which is not working today. It's irritating me, but it's a Logitech C920 that's pointed down at my desk. And if I had it working, you just see my hands and my keyboard. Now, you can't change that with PowerPoint Live, right? All I've got is I've got this. And I have to go into the camera object and change that. Where here's my kind of little demo. And I've got some sections here. So think of this as OBS scenes. So I've got one called Talking Head. What if I go to one that's my whiteboard? I've got it labeled as my whiteboard. It's, the section name. Now, what I would have to do to go from this to this is I've got to click an extra button on my ATEM to switch that at the same time. So to do that live, let's check out what that would look like. So we'll go back. This is my talking head. Hey, everybody, isn't my presentation going great? I've got to click both at the same time. So one on the keyboard, one on the ATEM. And now I'm on my whiteboard. Hey, let's talk about whiteboard stuff. Isn't that great? And then I can go back to me on my face. And, wasn't that a great view of my whiteboard? That was pretty neat. So it would be really cool if you could tie an individual object to a specific camera, right? So that on scene number 3, if I know that that's going to be the time where I go whiteboard, if I could select that USB camera pointed at the whiteboard, then during my presentation, I could go from one to the other, right? So you can do this today with OBS and multiple cameras with multiple inputs. One idea that I have, Andy, is that, yeah, and Daryl's coming on to the idea is if I'm in OBS, I can't do this with my ATEM, right? I would have to do another way to switch my ATEM at the same time. So because you've got something controlling your OBS and something controlling your ATEM, and you could have something, number 3, controlling your PowerPoint. What if you got rid of the OBS layer and you had something controlling your PowerPoint and your ATEM at the same time, right? So I can't switch USB cameras, but I've got a video switcher right here in front of me. You can't see it. I'm pointing at it. That has an Ethernet port on it. So what I want to check or try real quick is, what about using Companion and Stream Deck for that? So if I go in here, I'm going to bring up my my Companion here. So launch the GUI. If you haven't played with Companion yet, there's a lot of videos out there about this. This is BitFocus Companion. It's a little web server that's running on your computer, and then you can use that through your Stream Deck to talk to things that are on the network using like OSC type commands. So my ATEM is on my network, my Philips Hue is on my network, my Elgato key light is on my network. So what I've done is I've connected it to multiple things. So my ATEM Mini, if I hit edit, it's tied to that IP address on my network. It's talking to it. My key light, it's talking to my key light. My Philips Hue, it's talking to my Philips Hue for my background lights and all that type of stuff. So when you go to buttons up here at the top, now you're building out what you want to do. So I've got a button right here. What it does is when I press the button, it changes my lights to be low with my key light turned on. And then when I press it again, it turns off my key light, sets my lighting back to soft white. So if I hit test, I'm talking over my network to two items. I'm flipping Philips Hue, I'm flipping Elgato. So if I add another button right here and I say that this is going to be a regular button, and then I'm going to call this like WB for whiteboard, then what I can do, because I have my ATEM set up, is I could say, all right, I want to set the program input when I press whiteboard. I want to set that to be my main cam, my A6400. Well, this is the whiteboard one, so I'm going to switch it to whiteboard, which is my G85. And then I'm going to have another button here for like cam. And that one is going to be my ATEM. If Chris Wilkins is watching, he's like so proud of me right now because he taught me like how to use Companion. So I've got like my ATEM switcher now, right? So if I go to WB, I'm going to hit test action. It's going to flip my camera to my whiteboard. Boom. There you go. If I go back to cam and hit this, it's going to switch me back there. So now I can do a Stream Deck action to change that with a single press of a button. So let's get rid of Companion. I know I'm getting way in the weeds. This is why you watch, so we can get like super nerdy. Stream Cam. So I've got, or Stream Deck, I've got my blank button right here. We're going to put it right in this slot. And I have, do I have Companion installed? No, I do not. So I'm going to go into the store for Elgato. I'm going to search for Companion. We got to install that, right? Because it's a plugin, so that I can press that virtual web button. And now I've got that installed. I've got Companion. So I could do a button right here for Companion, do another one. And that was, wasn't it like 1.3 or something like that? I think I have to kill Companion and restart it to get it talking again. So let's do that. Let's go back to Stream Deck. And is it active? There it is. So it's like, which button do you want? That was button 1.3 was whiteboard. And button 1.4 was camera. So now I've got a button on here. Rather than touching the ATEM, I'm now touching my my Stream Deck to flip back and forth. So that's great, but that's still a separate button. What if we get rid of these and we do a multi-action now? So instead of two fingers for two buttons, what if I press one button to go to a specific slide and switch my camera at the same time? So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a multi-action. And we're going to name this multi-action whiteboard PPT, right? We'll just do it like that. We'll put this text in the middle so it looks pretty. And then we're going to do the Companion button. So when I press this button, I want to go 1.3. I want to do my whiteboard button right there. And then Yeah, what was that? 1.3? Yeah. And then I don't have it installed. So let's go back up here. There's a PowerPoint plugin. Well, there used to be. PPT? No? Oh, there it is. PowerPoint by Elgato. So I can install that plugin. And there's that. So now when I go into here, let's add PowerPoint. So PowerPoint, you can have it like play, stop the presentation, load the presentation, next slide, previous slide. So you could have it go to the next slide as well. But I don't know if you guys know this trick, but in PowerPoint, like say that I'm on slide 4 and I know my whiteboard is on slide number 2. If I want to jump from 4 to 2, all I got to do is press the 2 and hit enter. And it went to that. See how it jumped back 2 slides and went to whiteboard? So if I know that my thing is slide number 2, why don't I just do a hotkey and do 2, and then like another hotkey here for enter, like that with no delay between it. And I'm going to move that to there in order. Now I've got a button that should switch my ATEM and jump to the slide that I want, right? So let's go back here to slide number 4. And I've got my main talking points. Hey, isn't this great that we're talking about PowerPoint? Let me show you my whiteboard real quick. I pressed that button. It went to that slide. Oh, but it execute the companion. So I guess we got to figure that out. Is why didn't it do? Let's force it to be button number 2, button number 3. Okay, I don't know why it's not loading that button up. Maybe you can't use companion buttons inside of a multi-action. I don't know if you've ever done that, Andy.
I haven't.
Because if I do this, well, maybe this isn't going to work. Live demos. Because if I do X3, it's like right there. But if I do it here, it doesn't want to do it. Oh, maybe that's a bug in companion button. Okay, well, maybe that's not going to work then, Andy. I was hoping that what it would do is jump to that and like do my magic on my ATEM at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So that you could have a button on your Stream Deck always there, like this, that was jump me to my whiteboard, like it would be as a scene in OBS, and it would flip the camera and flip over there. That's one theory for doing that, but you're a little bit limited in being able to switch your camera to a different camera inside of PowerPoint because you have to go here to preview and flip the camera manually.
Mm-hmm.
If these were available with hotkeys, then you could have a Stream Deck do it. Or if you could have like an action, like as part of your animation or something, you could have a slide action that would change the camera, then that would work. But now you're kind of falling back to, well, maybe we could do it inside of OBS, right? And do you want to show like your multi-view for OBS, or do you want me to build a scene?
No, I'll do it.
To do it. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, let's see what you've got because you've been playing with this all week. So do side by side.
I created just some simple placeholder slides. All I've done is just duplicate the slide. This is the Cameo object. I'm just feeding the camera into it. But when we want to do some multicam stuff, the easiest thing for me is to do a software-based solution. And the easiest software solution in this case is actually just feed OBS into it. So this is where we're going to change up the camera. So rather than using the current camera object, let me switch over, camera preview, and I'm going to feed OBS into it.
Okay.
All right. So that's going to be camera moving forward is OBS. And you see it's feeding OBS into that. Now, currently it's waiting on me to send over the OBS. So I know the question earlier, am I running the M1 Mac beta? Yes, I am. And I'm going to start the virtual cam there. And in OBS, I've got a couple of scenes already kind of set up and configured. The main one's just pointed to my main webcam. So I'm going to bring that in, head over into PowerPoint, switch the camera over. Now it's using OBS. So now I can take advantage of the scenes in the presentation basically however I want. You can see like what happens when I toggle a way to move things around. But I'm controlling what shows up here through my OBS feed. So like, let's go in and now I'm presenting. But if I want to switch up the scene to maybe a split screen view with multiple cameras, and in this case, you see I've got my desktop being broadcast. I've got side by side with a couple of different presenters. Just whatever cameras I feed into the OBS virtual cam are going to show up over here. And as I move around to different things, I can get some different layouts and different views. But as I switch from, let me go back to this cam. As I switch from one slide to another, it's really easy for me to demo something different. It's like if I wanted to get to a point where I'm demoing my desktop, all I got to do is go into, make sure I got a scene set up for that. So we'll just do scene 4 real quick. We're going to do a max screen capture. This will be number 2. I just got to tell it what to capture, my built-in Retina display. All right, that's good. I need to change the transform because it never fits to screen. Now it's fit to screen. I'll bring that out, or I'll bring OBS out of the way. Go back over here, and then let me just, looks like it's waiting on something. Let me stop and start the virtual cam again. There we go. Oh, I know it's
House of Mirrors.
Yeah, House of Mirrors, because of the way I have like that desktop set up and like broadcasting back into it. So, but you can use it to do things like feed OBS into it and then demo your desktop. Or like, let's say I wanted to go and this is a fun one. So let me go to office.com. All right, so office.com. And I want to do whiteboard. So I just go into the whiteboard app. All right, so I will, this one looks fun. I have no idea what I was doing there. I hope it's safe for work. It appears to. All right, so I'm going to take that. I'm just going to move it off the screen. All right, and then in OBS, all I'm doing is adding a source. So let me just kill this source. I'm going to remove that. That's fine. And I'm just going to switch this up. I want to capture a browser. It's going to ask me, like, what do I want to capture? Hold on one second. Let me get this fixed. Do a window capture. What do you want to capture? I just have to tell it the right thing. That's, yep. There we go. And so now, and I'll transform that real quick. Maybe, where did the transform tool go? Well, there we go. So if like if I were in a PowerPoint presentation, like when I get to this slide, like I would just switch over from, whatever camera I want. Oh, I'm going to demo my desktop. And then I demo my desktop. And this is I think this is the probably the coolest part of that. Like if I do this in my PowerPoint, so like I'm just feeding in various cameras to it, and I'm doing all of that through OBS over off to the side. I think the coolest part of all of that is if I can bring this into PowerPoint Live. So what I want to do, I'm just going to do a new, I'm back in my tenant. I'm just going to do a meeting there. All right. Turn on that camera and I'll share some content. So like, I want to do this mode. I picked the PowerPoint or like whatever that I want to share. So I'm just going to broadcast this, present in Teams. Crash PowerPoint. Let me open that up again.
Oops.
Make sure I open up the right one. Yep.
Daryl has a good point here. Like something with with doing the virtual cam. It says, hey, are you presenting in a Teams meeting? Would that affect the camera quality, therefore the OBS virtual cam quality? That's something to think out is, yeah, like what if your OBS virtual camera goes low quality, you know, like 240p? Is it going to make your desktop all blurry from OBS?
Right.
Yeah. So that's something to think about. Daryl, it would be interesting if Teams maybe has thought about that and like they give Andy's stream priority, push him up to higher quality because he's like on the stage, you know?
Sorry, it's pulling the wrong deck. I saved the deck to your tenant and it doesn't like the cross tenant connection. So give me 1 second. Let me figure this out real quick. I'll try to troubleshoot this on the fly.
Oh yeah, because you don't have PowerPoint. Have that live in PowerPoint.
All right, so I'll just save a version of this to my tenant with the changes that we made here. Let me give that just a second to save. Oh, look at that, the pinwheel of impending doom. All right, it's thinking about it.
Yeah, Daryl's saying you might have to spotlight just to be sure. If you spotlighted Andy, push him
get
up
the
to a higher
camera
quality.
source. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So that. All right. So there's the meeting. Let me see if I can present in Teams. Tell you what, I'm going to close. I'm going to go to Teams and do this. Let's find. That's the PowerPoint that I want.
The new one. There's your layouts.
All right. So let's switch over.
Oh, why is it grayed out?
Just thinking about it. All right. So let's say we get here.
Basically. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, and you're switched to Cameo now.
Yep. And did
Did you see that little banner? It said we've switched you to Cameo automatically because that's the best layout. It went from standout to Cameo based on the slide. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just double check. So Cameo is not currently using that camera feed.
Your OBS camera, because you got to switch it in Teams, right?
Let's try that again.
Like, what's your Teams devices set to?
Yeah, that's a good thought.
Yeah.
All right. So
I think you're still through right, Tim.
All right. So we want to go here, and then we'll switch the device settings, Blackmagic. Switch it to OBS. And it does not like that in.
Oh, try sharing again. Stop sharing and reshare, because it's saying that because you switched cameras, it just blanked it out.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. So now when you're in the side-by-side view,
there it goes.
You're showing your live camera. So you could do that with OBS. Another way that you could do it is with NDI. That's going to be a little bit lighter weight. If you were running the NDI, what's it called? The scan converter or something, where you can like take a screen and send it out to your local network over NDI. So you could do that and then use the NDI input as your camera. It's another option.
There's a couple of different ways to do it, but we've established that the virtual cams are supported. So if I feed the virtual cam into the slide, I can easily say, okay, here, I want to have like 2 people next to one another. And then when I get over to this slide, I just have to go, oh, I just want to do my desktop. And then here, let me demo my app. And then here, let me demo like my whiteboard. So there's still going to be some manual switching on the other side. But this little thing saves a lot of share something, stop sharing, resharing something else. So like once you get it set it up at the beginning, put your Cameo in, change your team's camera to your virtual camera and then just use that tool to switch on the background. When I get to this slide, I don't have to stop sharing PowerPoint Live, go to my desktop, and then reshare PowerPoint Live and pick up where I was. Now I just go right through the deck and then off to the side. Off to the side, I'm just switching the camera feed in OBS and then feeding it to it. So is it an OBS killer? No. But if I add OBS to this, I can do that thing where I don't have to stop sharing and then reshare. And
it's the
I'm really
opposite
about that.
of our hypothesis of can PowerPoint replace OBS for most things. I think for lightweight stuff, maybe. But if you flip that on its head, can OBS enhance PowerPoint Cameo? It's a little bit complicated, but yeah, you could get multicam setups. You could like use cropping inside of your Cameo object to get what you really need from like an OBS 4-way layout. So it's like it's a little bit of give and take where PowerPoint now can replace OBS with some stuff, but OBS can also add a little bit more spice to PowerPoint. And we're back to where we started almost, right? We're like, you're still running OBS. But from Microsoft's perspective, if you could add like the virtual screen object that we talked about, if you could add things like a Teams placeholder, right? So that in the meeting you could assign a person to go to that placeholder, then you could like put guests on your PowerPoint. And if you could add a Cameo object tied to a specific camera, then you could get multicam layouts. That would be just about anything that I would need OBS for, right? And I also wouldn't have to figure out some other way like Teams NDI or OBS Ninja, something like that to get my guest into my scene. If Cameo had Teams guests, virtual screen, and tied to a camera, then yeah, most of the layouts I've ever done could be Cameo, could be all done within PowerPoint, sent through PowerPoint Live way smoother. So that's what I'm looking for, is those couple of things that would really just put this over the top, right? If there was ever like a version 2 of Cameo, that would be my wish list.
Yeah, I would.
So
a couple of things. I think since we're talking wish list, a couple of things that I would like to see: the recording captured in a Teams meeting with PowerPoint Live and Cameo built in. I would love to see that. That would be just great. The multicam support, like the ability in the presentation to very quickly switch between one cam and another. And it could be as simple as what they've done for the presenter mode, where when you got a little window off to the side and you can pick if you're on the left or on the right and make yourself bigger or smaller with the slider. Something as simple as that, like in that little panel, just let me switch cams real quick. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Really big wish list item, like, I know it's far down the road, but the ability to put an object, or, a Cameo object in the slide and have it pick the camera as I get to that thing. So like this one, I want to point at my desktop. And that's another ask. I would like a built-in desktop capture. I think that would be something that's very, very valuable, because I set these slides up in this presentation specifically demo. So I know when I get to that slide, I want to demo this thing. If I could just stay in PowerPoint, interact with my desktop, and just have that broadcast, that would save so much switching back and forth. So that would be on the wish list for me. And then there's some other elements like automatically displaying my username, or like enter my name in one time and have it show up across the Cameo objects, as either kind of a lower third and light thing. I think that would be really cool. Tying back
even if you didn't do Azure AD
name.
If I could put in my display name, kind of like how you can put in your initials in PowerPoint profile, your Office profile.
Yeah.
Maybe I could store it that way, so how it would be displayed in PowerPoint Live. That would be kind of a middle ground.
Yeah. And I would also like the ability to feed 2 separate cameras. So like we got 2 people presenting, we want to focus in on that. John and I are doing a town hall, and I want to have us, side by side and have a conversation like we do here in Restream. I would like to see that. And I know some of these are some big asks, and there's a whole lot of heavy lifting that goes on with the back end. But for where we are right now, I'm actually really happy with it. And some of the things that I've discovered in just the past couple of weeks of working in the public preview, like the ability to do placeholders, connect to my virtual cam, and then just switch my virtual cam when I get to the placeholder. Like, that's going to save me a whole lot of time when I'm doing presentations. But
Yeah.
not being able to record it, that's going to add another layer to that. Do I record in OBS and then upload from there? Like, I got to figure that part out. But what they've done here, being able to pass it off in theory from me to you, being able to play it inside of a Teams meeting using PowerPoint Live, respecting the morph animation or transition and working with that, like, hats off to the Microsoft team. I'm really impressed with what I've seen here. I've been impressed with it since they first announced some of this stuff, like a while back, and to be able to work with it is awesome. They're receptive to feedback, which is great. Yeah, I agree, Daryl. The virtual cams, when we tested it last week, it wasn't working for me. We didn't know if it was the OBS version I was on or not, but it's working now, and I'm super happy. Please don't take it away.
It's great to see that.
I lost virtual cam support like a year and a half ago for 6 months, and now I felt like, I was in the ocean with no rowboat.
Two other wish list items that were in the chat here, as well as when we're on the wish lists, is when I was talking about, like, it'd be great to like have a placeholder for somebody in the Teams meeting, be able to have them as a second person on screen. Daryl's saying it would be great if you're going to have like a virtual camera object, or if you've got this person is assigned to slot 2, this person is slot 3, this person slot 4. What if a slot could be for the shared content, right? So that maybe it's not my virtual screen from PowerPoint, my local screen, but what if it was somebody like could share their screen into the meeting and have that be part of PowerPoint Live? That would be cool. Morgan is saying, what about a placeholder for a spotlighted guest? That would be great, because then, you could have a live Q&A. Imagine you've got a 2-up screen, right? Or you've got a 3-up screen, and you've got your hosts, this VP, that VP, and then a guest slot for the person asking the question. Somebody raises their hand. Maybe then, if the background, the person who's running Q&A, if they could say spotlight and say, hey, you're on with your VPs, why don't you ask them a question in the town hall? That person just popped up next to that VP and asked them a question. That would be really great and really engaging for a Teams live event or a Teams meeting. You could like basically have it be something that like ad hoc has guests. Two places I would look if you're Microsoft and you're looking at how is other people doing this that's not OBS. In a lot of ways, I think using OBS for your inspiration might be a little bit starting in the hard zone and then trying to figure out how to put it in a PowerPoint, make it easy. So there's other things out there that are a little bit easier than OBS. Like, one of them is Ecamm Live. What they do for their interview feature, where it's doing exactly that. You're putting placeholders on your scene and you're saying, this is guest 1, guest 2, guest 3. And then in your camera participant pane, you're saying you are guest 1, guest 2, guest 3. And then it just maps to that. Like, that's the way they do that in Ecamm. I think that's intuitive and would make sense in PowerPoint. And then the other thing with Restream, where we showed this, Andy, at the very beginning, where I can now hit plus in Restream and I can add an extra camera. Being able to add an extra camera in a Teams meeting or from PowerPoint Cameo and tie it to that object. Those types of things, like, I would say look at some of these not consumer grade, but like these more intuitive things than OBS, as like, that's the direction I would like to see PowerPoint bring from that world, rather than, oh my gosh, these nerds in OBS know how to do all this crazy stuff. Let's try to figure out how to make it not so hard. I feel like that's a harder ask than starting simple. So what we got?
I would just
Will
ask that we figure out
joining.
the recording
Hey, Will.
thing. I just wanted that would be really nice.
Yeah. So live events, Will, the answer to that would be it doesn't, because PowerPoint Live's not available in the live event. So unfortunately, you wouldn't also be able to use Cameo for that object. Also Teams NDI, that's another kind of like pet peeve of mine, I guess, is I wish when you enabled NDI, I wish you could take PowerPoint Live as a source, right? For your like live event stuff. You can't do that, like that doesn't show up as a source like it does with normal participant videos. So no, you wouldn't be able to use PowerPoint Cameo through NDI, Teams NDI, because it's not an object or a source. So those are good questions, Will. Appreciate you watching, man. It's good to see you on here again. I always get a kick out of your Twitter posts. It's fun to follow you. What else did we not cover? We've been going for like 2 hours and 15
I think we knocked out the list.
There's a pretty big deep dive into stuff, but it's pretty broad. We've played with some stuff, found some things that work, found some things that don't work. My test of like, could I use Companion to kind of like combine button switches and do a fake multicam with an ATEM? That didn't work, unfortunately. But you could, with 2 fingers, you could get it done. You could do, the shapes were cool to explore, in my opinion. Adding it to the slide master, I think that was a huge takeaway. Being able to kind of like duplicate that format across multiple slides with a master was really good. The morph transition, I think that's a big winner. So, Daryl, what do you mean by callouts? I'm curious what you mean by callouts, if there's something to look at there. I know there's a shape called callouts, right? It's like the bubble with the little thing. I thought that was kind of a fun, like when you're highlighting an item on a slide, change your camera to a box, like a chat bubble pointed to that object. Yeah, lower thirds. Yeah, we talked about the lower thirds. That was cool. It's pretty static today, but if you know who your presenters are, Andy's showing that right now on screen. So he pops over, he animated in a lower third. It's got a timer on it to automatically go away after 10 seconds. So those lower thirds, I would like to see them be more dynamic so that it worked off of like your display name. We talked a little bit about, Azure AD and organizational policies might make that not so nice. That was a really good call out by Benita. Annotations. Yeah, the annotations do work, right? You can go on, you can draw on your slide. That was something, if you go, Andy, to where you're like full screen with Cameo, I think that's like back several slides. Yeah, go to your, right there. You could use the annotation and you could kind of do, it's not a whiteboard, it's a glass board, right? Remember that's Scott Hanselman video, the beginning of the pandemic, where he's talking about drawing over yourself? You could do that here with annotations in PowerPoint Live.
Chroma keyed out though, I believe.
Yeah, he did it with Chroma Key so that he was on an iPad drawing. Yeah. With this, you would be drawing with your you'd be drawing with your mouse unless you were using a Surface device. Because if you're using a Surface device, throw that window on there and now you're drawing with your stylus on top of your face. So that could work. Yeah, you could always, because PowerPoint supports lower animated GIFs, you could have a GIF or a video as part of your lower third. That's an exciting thing to think about too. You can do animation paths with your lower third. That's pretty nice. So I'm just kind of recapping what we've been able to do. Yes,
we've asked for the fly-in comments in a couple of different services.
I've made this comment a few times in like PG product group interactions. Every time I'm in front of a Microsoft product manager who might be anywhere in the universe of being able to do something about this, I ask that question. So I am an advocate for you. I want to be able to take a Teams chat message or a Q&A and send it to the meeting stage so that the person's name is on stage, which is very empowering, and you're recognized by your leader. Second, you have the context of what the heck the person was answering while they were answering it burned into the meeting recording. So yes, I am all about that. And I will continue to beat that drum on your behalf whenever I talk to anybody from Microsoft.
John, the next time you go to a live event, like an in-person event, you need to like
Uh-huh.
wear an iPad or like on a necklace, like right around you, and have it like set up to like live feed comments from like your Twitter or
Yeah, the
something. That way,
comment
every
on
time
your
you run into
chest.
a Microsoft person, you'd be like, "Oh, look at that! Look how handy that is to have like
Yeah,
flying
wouldn't that be
comments."
nice in a Teams meeting if like you could put the comment on the screen? Yep. Yeah, we're totally on board with that. I think that is the most powerful thing about doing live streaming on YouTube and LinkedIn and Twitter is that we can interact with our audience and we can put it in here. And now if people watch this weeks later, they're part of it, right? They see the chat replay, they see the comments on screen. Um, that'd be another escalation of the Teams event experience.
Yeah, take like the
I just
Q&A
worry.
and feed that in as an object into the
Yeah.
PowerPoint.
Into the PowerPoint. That's another thing that was in the back of my mind when we talked a week ago is take a placeholder for highlighted comment, right? You've got your brackets with date time, your brackets with display name. Have a bracket for, a variable highlighted comment. Then whenever you highlight the comment in the meeting, it shows inside the PowerPoint. That would be glorious to be able to do something like that. I worry about I worry about like what's going to happen. Microsoft, like, not building this out is a year from now, either Zoom or WebEx is going to do that. And then now Microsoft's going to have to play catch up and leapfrog and try to like bring it in when they could have been first. They could have done it first.
Can we get a finder's fee?
Right. Yeah. Like, what was the idea that you had? It was like, dude, free feature request idea about it was at the beginning. It was like 2 hours ago. There was some genius idea. When you're watching the recap, go back like an hour and a half. Andy had a really good idea. Right.
I don't even remember. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the beginning myself.
Yeah, I forgot what it was, and then I'm gonna kick myself because I couldn't remember. But
we need an instant replay feature.
Yeah.
Save a clip for a replay at the end.
OBS has that. It's not an instant replay if it's an hour and a half ago. That's DVR. So, yeah, Daryl's like moderated Q&A. Yeah, I want to be able to right click on a comment, send to stage, or right click on a Q&A, send it to stage.
What about polling results? Right click on polling results and have like the word cloud pop up.
That's
like,
another
right
thing.
there.
Yeah, that would be great if you had a placeholder for Cameo, but that placeholder was the Teams poll that is active right now, so that you could integrate Microsoft Forms into the design of the PowerPoint as part of PowerPoint Live. That'd be another thing that would just be wonderful instead of having an overlay on top that's detached from the meeting. If it could be part of the meeting stage, it's just more ideas to kind of enhance the production value of just a simple Teams meeting at the end of the day.
Well, we're
These things
thinking
would
about
be really crazy.
I'm going down the rabbit hole, and I just thought of another one.
Mhm.
Like in the the chat panel or the control panel or whatever,
Mhm.
blank box that you could enter in like a URL and make it a clickable URL, like what shows up in PowerPoint Live when you display a URL on the screen. People on the other end can click it.
Yeah, like a hot zone, so you could add a link
So, like,
live.
Let
That'd be
me
cool.
let me add like either in real time or prior to the event. Let me do a
Mhm.
URL placeholder. And either the URL that I put in or
Mhm.
maybe an image and make it clickable. So like I can, bring it up in the slide, like display it when I want it in the presentation. And that would be one other thing that I would like. So we're talking about like adding things like, comment call outs, add in a question from Q&A, a clickable URL. I would really like the ability to be able to hide and display an object on the slide on demand. Like, put it in the control panel down at the bottom, like down in this area, like right here,
like a selection pane, basically.
Yeah, like, and just put a little eyeball on it, and I can, if I want to bring something up, I'll bring it up, and if I want to close it, I close it for just that slide. That way, I mean, I know I can build separate slides and I can do that, but like, it'd be cool just to have it on like one slide. Like, here's a thing, it's up now, and then I hide it. And let me have keyboard shortcuts, please, so I can stream deck it.
Yep. Morgan's got a cool recommendation for people is, yeah, you could do keynote stuff with an alpha, and then you could bring in lower thirds that way over your screen. It'd be nice, yeah, if there were alpha channels in PowerPoint, you'd be able to do that as well. Another thing, Morgan, to look at, if you've never looked at it before, there's an app called H2R Graphics from here to record. Look up H2R Graphics. They also have some really cool, it's like a little control panel where you can do your live graphics with like people's names and like logos and stuff from a control panel rather than having to do it in a slideshow. That's kind of another cool little app. But yeah, these are great ideas. We've had a lot of viewers on this one, a lot of awesome comments and everything. So if you're watching this later on, check out the chat replay, watch that go. I've been trying to put them on screen like this as we go, so to your benefit. Something I need in YouTube Live, Andy, is I need like a high five icon.
Yeah.
So like there's been so many good comments I bring on screen. I really need an animated thing over here in like the top corner that's like giving her a high five, because that's like a really cool idea. So this has been awesome, guys.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun researching this one too.
Yeah. This is definitely a deep dive. We went longer than I think we ever have. Lots of cool ideas, lots of cool comments. I think it's a good base to build on. What we've got today with PowerPoint Live, with Cameo, it's an awesome version 1. It makes me excited for what a potential version 2 could be someday. I'm hopeful that they just keep investing in this area, because I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Well done to everybody on the PowerPoint team and the Teams team
off
to pull these things off.
Virtual high five, PowerPoint team.
Yep. Awesome. Well, anything else, or should we end it?
I think we're good.
Getting ready for vacation. I want to go play some retro games on my arcade behind me. Cool.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you in a few weeks. If you got any ideas, send them to us on social media and we'll see what we can do. But thanks for joining, and we'll see you in the next one.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.